Howdy Chooks. This time around we're talking about the Avengers, the 1960s Avengers with Steed and Peel. And I have not seen many of these, believe it or not. A lot of people are shocked that I haven't actually seen a lot of these, but this is a show that has been off and on my radar for as long as my life has gone, so 50 years. The only time I really sat down to watch it was in the mid-90s, and I got the tail end of it. It's not something that was shown continuously here in Tasmania, at least from the 80s onwards. When it did show up, which it did in the mid-90s, it was only the Steed and Peel years, mainly the coloured episodes. So it was a kind of a blink and you miss it sort of thing, because there's only like 26 episodes, I think, to the Avengers in the colour series. So I had seen the entire black and white series and thoroughly enjoyed them completely. I don't care if it's in black and white and colour. I don't care. I think some things work better in black and white anyway, and this does. But also in colour as well. It's just eye-popping as far as the design and the 60s aesthetic, because it was made in the 60s. This series was made in 1967, the one that I'm reviewing now. And even though I've only watched the first 9-10 episodes, it's a show that I kind of go, oh, I want to watch the next one. But then I realise if I do watch the next one, then that's one closer to getting towards the end of the series, and I really, really enjoy it. I've thoroughly enjoyed this series. It is a breath of fresh air, to be honest, with all the crap that we've been given the last 10 or so years of. Just to go back and to finally watch it whenever you like. A lot of people like to watch these when they're actually on television. Why? Because you do realise that on TV they're not showing the good stuff. They're not showing the great transfers. They're showing episodes that they've had in their vaults for like 20, 30 years that have degraded over time from the tapes. You realise that, right? You realise they don't get upgrades like the Blu-rays and the DVDs and that do. You realise that, right? Anyway, so I want to talk about the Avengers, this particular Avengers, and like I said, I haven't seen any of the Tara King whatsoever. That will be happening after I finish the Steed and Peel years. But yeah, look, what a great show. So if you don't know, the premise is that
extraordinary crimes against the people and the state have to be avenged by agents extraordinary. Two such people are John Steed, top professional, and his partner, Emma Peel, talented amateur. Otherwise known as the Avengers.
there are these agents that work for... They're not really spies, although I guess they could be. And that's sort of where it's been left ambiguous, in that you don't know who they work for or what sort of organisation. At least in this particular series. I think later down the track they try to explain it more. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. I can't. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it expands the mythos of the series. I don't know. That's just something that I'll probably talk about in the future. But as this series goes, Series 5, in the earlier series, they were shot on video, much like Doctor Who was for its entire run of the 60s, 70s and 80s. But this actually stopped filming in video after Series 3 with Kathy Gale. Once Kathy Gale left, I don't know if they were showing this series in the US, but somehow they got funding from the US, and that gave it an extra extra budget that could shoot it on film, and it just shines. It really, really does. And even in black and white and colour, in colour, it's just colour. They take a lot of inspiration from Batman, and you can tell because there are actually little nods to Batman in it if you keep your eye out for it, which I loved. I was like, but yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's overly camp. It can be, but look, I mean, I like camp. I do. I mean, I'm a carry-on fanatic, so I love 60s, 70s British comedy. So, and that's the thing. This series has it all. It has action, adventure, comedy, sweet moments, and it's to the point where Steed and Peel don't really get together because it's Mrs. Peel. Come on, he can't really be cheating on, well, who knows nowadays, but you just know that it can't happen, and I love that. I love that theory that it just doesn't really thing, because I do know what happens at the end of this series, so I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, it's when she leaves, I got a bit of a shock, but I liked it as well. I remember that each series actually evolves into they try new things. So in this particular series of Series 5, Steed always has a way of getting in touch with Emma Peel in the way that, to say, hey, Mrs. Peel, we're needed. And I like that. I like the fact that, he can hide up behind wallpaper. There's an element of surrealism in the whole series that you just have to, put your disbelief to a side and just go with it. And I love that. I love it. It just doesn't happen anymore. Everything's got to be explained, and if it's explained terribly, it can be really detrimental to the show, the series, the story, everything. It's just like, look at modern Doctor Who, for God's sake. So I love the fact that a lot of things don't get explained, and things do get explained, and they're a little bit odd. But that's fine. I'm happy with that. So the series itself, they work pretty much, this is what I've gathered so far in the intel for this series. So they work for an organisation that is like, kind of work for the British government, an offside British government, that's much like MI6, where, like James Bond, where like they deal with the unknown, the unexplained, and they're able to explain it, or get somewhere in between. So they're sort of like agents for the Ministry of Defence. But is it the Ministry of Defence or a certain sub-branch of the Ministry of Defence? We don't know, and that's fine. I love that. I love that nothing is explained like that. You can just give little nuggets here and there. But you don't have to explain everything. So, anyway, so Emma Peel is a very sassy, extremely feminine, kick-your-ass sort of gal who really, sort of tolerates Patrick McNee and his flirtatiousness and his Steed, and it's just it's a wonderful chemistry, and every time they're together is just amazing. I love it. I love it. I love the banter. I love when things are always just, it's like, how the hell are they going to get out of this, a firing squad, and then one or the other will show up, and I love that. I just love it. It's sort of like it's basic, but it works so well, and this series is right up there with, for me, in my top 10 series of all time. In that, even though I've not seen all of them, I just enjoy them so much when I do see them, and it's a great series. So, Anyway, so they fight, madmen. They fight diabolical villains, mad scientists. They fight a lot of mostly British, but they also have there's a bit of a Russian element as well, or Cold War element. They don't really call them Russians, so it's sort of like, the other. And I like that, it's just like, they just refer to the, oh no, it's the other side, and I like that. I really like that a lot. And like I said, I have been thoroughly enjoying this series. I'm continuing to watch it. I'd like you to watch it with me if you've never seen this series before. It is just, I'm just having so much fun with this series. And I love this show so much. I don't know if you can tell, but I do. And so this is the UK release. It's exactly the same as the Australian release that they did a couple of years ago. This is actually nearly 10 years old now, this release. But it looks amazing. Like, that's part of the fun, is the fact that the clarity is amazing. Don't ever watch it on TV, guys. Don't ever watch it on TV. You watch this series as it was originally made on the negative. It's just breathtaking. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a short one today, but and I will delve further into the Avengers. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, I will revisit this series later on down the track when I've seen. I've probably when I go from the Peel to the Tara King years, which I've not seen any of the Tara King whatsoever. We will return to the Avengers at some point later down the track. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Who am I? I'm Matt Pott, and I'll see you next time.